here in our text today, we see Joseph, amen, as a life coach of sorts. What can we learn from Joseph so that we can live? You see, because Joseph, unlike Jesus, was a man or human just like you and I. Subject to the same faults, subject to the same sin, subject to the same mistakes, subject to the same temptations. So you and I can relate to Joseph. Amen. If you have problem relating to Jesus, because Jesus is perfect and we are not. But Joseph can be a life coach for us today, because what does his life teach us overall, and what does it teach us about stewardship? Amen. Amen. Let me move on. Let me help you to understand stewardship first of all. Amen. First of all, stewardship is the job of taking care of something that you don't own. Amen, somebody. Just let it sit right there. I'm shortening the definition for the sake of time. Stewardship is the job or the responsibility to take care of something that you do not own. And the Bible has 4 principles for biblical stewardship. Number 1, ownership. God owns everything. Somebody say that. God owns everything. Say that again. God owns everything. Ownership. God owns everything. So that means we own nothing. Sorry to disappoint you. Amen, somebody. God owns everything. The second principle is about responsibility, which means we must manage what God has entrusted to us. We must manage it responsibly. Amen. I'm going to come back to that to help you understand what we must manage. But responsibility, we must manage what God has entrusted us with. And then accountability. That's where a lot of us get in trouble. You see, accountability says somebody going to come back and ask you, what did you do with what I left with you? Well, amen. Amen. What did you do with the stuff I gave you? Somebody in here, let me help you understand. See, somebody in here has been asked to loan money to somebody. Amen. Or ask somebody's asked you for money, your children, your brother. Amen. Somebody's asked you for money. And the first thing that went through your mind, what did you do with the money I already gave you? Anybody ever said that? If you did, come on, holler back at me. Anybody ever said that? Accountability. You are going to be asked by the owner, what did you do with what I gave you? And then the fourth principle is reward, that you will be rewarded according to your stewardship. Amen. How well you do with what God gives you will determine what God gives you. Amen. How well you do with what God gives you will determine what God gives you. Now, what are we stewards over? The areas of stewardship are limitless. That's why I'm kind of going through this fast, because the reality is this. Since we own nothing, we are stewards of everything. That means our very lives, we are stewards. We are stewards over the gifts, the talents, the possessions, everything that God has let us use, we are stewards over. And He's going to ask you, what did you do with what I gave you? Amen, somebody. But not only that, and this is where it's going to bridge into the text, but good stewards are stewards that can be trusted because they have character, they are honest, and they are people of integrity.